car, SUV, or truck, guess what? You're in luck. Frontier Motors is down the street. Got the best deals that can't be beat. Don't overpay, come in today. Doing business the old-fashioned way. Frontier, we got the right price. Frontier will treat you mighty nice. Frontier Motors, low overhead country.
Oh, yeah. Low overhead country. That's what we call the Frontier Motor Show here on News Talk 1370 WCOA. Glad to have you with us today, folks, as we continue. If you want to get the price of a car, truck, or SUV you're thinking of buying or selling or trading in, or you have a question about the car business or the price of any of the vehicles displayed at Frontier Motors, call us because I can hook you up with the owner of Frontier Motors. 478-3116. I refer, of course, to Iven Streckel. Good morning, sir.
Hey, Don. Thanks for the introduction. And this, of course, is Talk Radio, 1370 AM. And if you're watching this on TV, this is also recorded for our Blab TV customers on satellite and cable. So if you're watching this, don't bother calling in right now because the dealership might be closed. But if you're listening to this on the radio, like Don said, 478-3116, you can join us and I can help you with the value of the car. The way that I get the values of the car is a little bit different than you might be able to get when you Google used car values. If you go on the internet, you're going to come up with a Kelley Blue Book, an Edmunds, and an NEDA. And the car dealerships use a little bit different values. One of the reasons we use a different book is because our banks, credit unions, and insurance companies use an official NEDA guidebook that you can't get on the internet. And this guidebook is published on a monthly basis. And we use this book again because if you go to the bank, that's what they use to book a car out. Now, that doesn't mean that's what the value of the car is. So what we also do is we use a wholesale black guidebook. And this is the data that's compiled from auctions. Now, I'm holding up a black guidebook. We really don't subscribe to this anymore because it's all on our phone and it's on the internet. If you're a car dealership, you just log in, we get this information. The third way that we get values is what I call the reality way, and that is by me being able to go into the Manheim auction chains, which, by the way, Manheim auctions are the largest auctions in the world. We happen to have a Manheim auction right here on W Street. All the data is compiled on a daily basis of every car that's sold. For example, just right here in our area in the South, over 25,000 cars get sold every week. Now you take that over the course of the nation on a weekly basis, you've got over 100,000 cars that are sold, and all this data gets put into a Manheim market report. So I can go in the market report and I can look at, if we're, for example, right now I'm looking at a 2017 Volkswagen Passat, and I can see that the average Passat had 12,000 miles on, and the average wholesale price was about $15,000. So then what I do is I use my NADA guidebook and I see what does the bank say the retail is. If wholesale is 15, maybe the retail should be around the $17,000 to $18,000. Usually there's going to be about a $2,000 or $3,000 swing, but these are the books that we use to give you what I consider real value. Now, if you found a car, for example, your neighbor is selling their car and he's asking $20,000. Well, how do you know if that car at $20,000 is a good value or a bad value? One way that you find out is you call Frontier Motors. You don't even have to tell us what they're asking for it. Give us the information. We'll plug it in our computer. It's going to spit out an average price. Maybe because we have close to 400 cars in inventory at Frontier Motors, I might have a twin to that car right on the lot, and we can use ours as an example. So if they're asking $20,000 for their car, and I've got that same car available for $18,000, then you can go back to the neighbor and say, hey, what if I offer you $18,000 because Frontier Motors has one like that? I'd rather buy it from you. I know you. I want to help you out. So you just get them to drop the price. Now, we do this on a daily basis. We have a lot of customers that call or stop in at Frontier Motors. They're buying elsewhere. And the reason they're at Frontier Motors because they heard this radio station or they saw this on Blab TV. And they said, well, I'm going to go see those guys at Frontier because they're going to guide me in the right direction to make sure that I don't get ripped off. You don't want to pay too much. You don't want to call a show after you bought a car and ask me if you got a good deal or not. What you want to do is you want to ask Frontier Motors before you sign the bottom line, before you pay for the car, to make sure that you're going to get a good deal. Now, even if you're going to buy a brand new car, which by the way, last year was almost a record, wasn't quite the record. The record for sales was in 2016. They sold 17.5 million cars. Last year, in 2017, we ended up with 17.2 million cars, which was very, very good. Matter of fact, that was the third best year ever in the car industry. So 17 million people bought brand new cars. So how can I help you if you decide to buy a brand new car? Well, one way I can help you is to tell you what you should be paying for that brand new car. Consumers Reports charges about $15 for an invoice. They sell a lot of invoices. The reason they tell you to get an invoice from them because they feel that if you know what the dealer paid for the car, you're not going to get ripped off. Give them a fair profit, and that way you can save a lot of time for negotiations. Well, at Frontier Motors, we have the new car cost guide, so I have every invoice available on every car out there, and I'd be willing to share that information with you at no charge. So if you are going to buy a brand new car, I can tell you here's what the dealer paid for that car. Just give them a little bit of a profit and save yourself a lot of headache by making ridiculous offers that aren't going to be approved. I can also tell you what the rebates and incentives are. And the second thing that I can help you with is I can let you know what they should be paying you for your trade-in. So let's say you find a car that you like. Let's say you're going to buy a brand new Lexus at Lexus Mobile, and you're looking at an RX 350, and it's a $50,000 car. And I've already agreed that $47,000 on this particular car is a good price on that car. The next thing you do is you toss your keys to the used car manager and say, tell me what you're going to give me for my trade-in. Well, if I've appraised your trade-in already before you went there for $20,000, you keep my appraisal in your back pocket. You get them to appraise the car, and they come back and say, well, we're going to give you $17,000 for your trade-in. You say, no, that is not going to work. And they're going to ask, well, why isn't that going to work? That's what the car is worth. Well, we stopped in at Frontier Motors. I'm not even buying a car from them, and they told me they'd pay me $20,000 for my car. Here, I'm spending $47,000 with you, and you're offering me $17,000. There's something wrong with this picture. If anything, they should be paying you more for your trade-in because you're buying a car off of their shelf by spending $47,000. So we help a lot of people make sure that the dealer that you're doing business with, I don't want to say the word stays honest, but it makes sure he gives you a fair appraisal. And sometimes you don't know why they're giving you a low appraisal. You don't know if they're just trying to rip you off, or if perhaps the used car manager has a different opinion about the car that you have than Frontier Motors has. A lot of times, because we sell every make and model, we will pay you more for your car because we have more experience with your car. If you go to a Lexus dealership with a pickup truck, you might end up getting a lower appraisal because there's not too many people looking for pickup trucks on a Lexus used car lot. So that's one reason. The other reason you might get a bad appraisal is that perhaps the used car manager has multiple vehicles like the one you're trading in on his lot already. And if, for example, you're going to a Lexus dealership and you're trading in a Lexus, you might say, well, the Lexus dealership is going to give me more money for my Lexus than Frontier Motors would. And then you go there and they don't. Well, why don't they? Well, because the used car manager has 15 of them lined up and he can't sell them. And here you come with number 16. He's thinking, oh, my God, his job is to get rid of these cars, not to buy more of them. So he's going to give you a lower appraisal. And the third reason sometimes you get a low appraisal, you'll never know why this is because they're not going to share this information, is that maybe the used car department that you're doing business with doesn't have any money left. You probably never think about that. You go onto a major lot, you see all the sea of cars, and you're thinking like, well, I'm going to go there because they must be really successful. And you go get your car appraised. Now, remember, you've got my appraisal in your back pocket of $20,000. They come back and they tell you $17,000. You're trying to figure out, well, why? Well, what they're not telling you is that the used car manager got scolded because they have a $2 million limit of used cars. They're already at $2.2 million. So they had a meeting in the morning and the owner says to the used car manager, hey, you need to dump a bunch of these cars. Now you come on the lot with a $20,000 trade-in and he's trying to figure out, well, what do I do with this car? I'm already over budget. So what he does is he calls somebody else for the appraisal. Somebody that has nothing to do with making a deal. Therefore, you get a lower appraisal, but you're never going to know that. And I know this from being in the industry because I get calls from other dealers and I'm wondering and asking the manager, why are you calling me? Well, we're over budget. We can't use this particular car. Well, when I buy a car from another car dealer, obviously I'm going to try to get it as cheap as possible. So therefore, you're getting a lower appraisal. Now, when you do business at Frontier Motors, a couple things that we do different. Number one, we unlock every single car every morning. Almost 400 cars in inventory. Actually, I have 353 on the lot, but we've got about 2 more truckloads coming in. So we're going to be probably in that 380 car range right now, which is close to 400 cars. Our salespeople unlock every single car so you can look at your leisure and you can sit in them. A lot of the car dealerships, and I notice this from personal experience from going to the car dealerships, they keep their cars locked. They do that on purpose, so you have to seek a salesman out, and you have to make sure that that salesman runs back and forth. If you want to look at 10 different cars, they're going to have to go back and forth 10 different times, which makes you feel somewhat obligated because the guy's working really, really hard for you. We don't make you feel obligated to buy a car at Frontier Motors. We want you to buy a car wherever you want to buy a car, and hopefully the way that we do business sets us apart. The product that we put at Frontier Motors sets us apart. And of course, the pricing has a little bit to do with it also. I always tell people if I'm not going to be the least expensive one at Frontier Motors, which we're not always the least expensive, I'll be the first one to admit that. But what I pride myself in, that the car that you're looking at is going to be in A1 condition. In other words, it doesn't smell like smoke. It doesn't have dings and scratches on it. The tires are phenomenal, if not brand new. You get 2 sets of keys when you buy the car. It's going to have an owner's manual. The windows are not going to be all scratched up and dinged up. And there's not going to be bugs all over the bumpers. And the spare tire is actually going to be in the car we're supposed to be. And these are things that I look at when I buy a car. I had, on that same note, when we talk about condition of cars, I had the auction in the other day, and they said, why are you only buying cars that are rated a 4 or above? Now, the auctions, the Mannheim auctions, where we do buy some of our cars, rates the cars from 0 to 5. 0 being a salvaged car, 3 being maybe an average car, 4 and above being a very, very good car, if not perfect when you consider a used car. I only buy 4 and above. And they were trying to get me to give them more business. They say, well, why don't you buy these cars that are 3s and 4s and just fix them up? And I said, we don't do that. We buy cars that are in primo condition. I'd rather pay a little bit more for a real nice car than buy a below average car and fix it up. Try to get the smoke out of it. Try to paint on it. I try to do whatever I need. The wheels are all nicked up. These are things that I would rather buy a car that's really nice. And I feel that I can charge a little bit more for that car, but not obnoxiously more. Most people, if you're looking at a 2017 car with, let's say, 15,000 miles on it, will pay maybe $500 or $1,000 more for one in really, really good condition rather than one that's in below average condition. The other thing that I also do is that we'll buy a car that has more equipment. So you're going to get some of the safety features. You're going to get leather interior. You're going to get some other features when you look on the internet. I did this yesterday because I was looking at a Lexus, the NX200T, which is their new small sport utility. So I found out that 3 dealers in Pensacola have one at the same price of the one that I'm looking at buying. But the one I'm looking at buying has $6,000 of equipment on it. Has the luxury group, which was $4,700, and has the navigation group, which is about $1,800. Well, it was more than $6,000, but it was the same price. I could price it at the same price. So I wasn't beating anybody's price. A used car, not a new car. The average new car loses about half its value in 3 years. So about 50% of the value of the car is gone in 3 years. And it says that Automotive analysis says that buying a used car means that the previous owner took that big financial hit. Also says their survey results in Consumer Reports shows that cars in general are very reliable today, easily clocking way over 100,000 miles before you need any major hits. As a matter of fact, they have another article out that actually lists the cars that are on the road, the biggest percentage of cars on the road that have over 200,000 miles on them. I don't know where they get this data. They must get it from Carfax, because Carfax keeps track of oil changes and stuff. And when you do your oil change, it lists the miles. But I'll give you an example. They say the Toyota Highlander, a lot of these are Toyota products, cars that are on the road after 15 years and 200,000 miles. Toyota Highlander, Toyota Sienna, Tundra, Prius, RAV4, Odyssey, Sequoia, Tacoma, CRV, Honda. the Avalon Acura MDX, a Camry, a Subaru Forester. The Subaru made it to the list. The Nissan had one vehicle in there, which is the Nissan Frontier. We sell a lot of Frontier, a great small truck. We don't do a lot with the Titans, but we do a lot with the Frontiers. And the Volkswagen made the list with the Volkswagen Golf. You'll notice that not one domestic product made it to that 200,000 club. But they're saying that the value is cut in half after 3 years, but don't fret to buy a 3-year-old car because they're saying a 3-year-old car is going to last for a long, long time. And it says also the most compelling reason to buy a used car is that you can put premium features and luxury within reach when you normally wouldn't. And I'll give you an example. Let's say you're looking at buying a brand new Chevy Impala, and the car is $25,000 for a base model car. Let's say it's $28,000. They're going to give you a $1,000 discount, a $2,000 rebate, so you're $25,000. And this is an LT model, so it's got a power seat and power windows and door locks, but cloth interior and nothing else on it. Just the normal stuff. You come to Frontier Motors and you buy that car, and it's 8 months old. It has 7,000 miles on it. It's the same price. But you're getting leather interior, navigation, electric moonroof, and you're getting all the safety features. If you haven't heard of blind spot detection, cross lane detection, automatic stop, adaptive cruise control. That's a cruise control that automatically hits the brakes if somebody in front of you hits the brakes. That's what automatic stop is also. Blind spot is a great feature. I got neck problems. The one side I can't see very good. So when I have blind spot, if you're on the expressway, it really helps you out when you know there's somebody next to you. And I'm sure it's happened to everybody where they're veered over in the other lane and they get the horn blown in their face because somebody's there and you didn't see him because you were at a car that has a bad blind spot. Safety features to me are more important than navigation and electric sunroof and leather interior. But wouldn't it be a better deal to buy a car that's 7 or 8 months old for the same price, but get maybe $6,000 worth of equipment at no charge, especially because of the safety features? I feel it is. We have a lot of cars on our lot that have very low miles. You think that Frontier Motors is a used car lot. So a lot of people, when you say used car, what are you thinking? What's a used car? I mean, I'm thinking a used car is a 5-year-old car with 60,000 miles on it. But that's not really what we specialize in at Frontier Motors. We specialize in 1-year-old, maybe 2-year-old cars with very low miles. And I'll give you an example of some of the cars that we have on the lot. We have a Volkswagen Passat on the lot with 100 miles on it. We have an Altima with 300 miles on it, a Nissan Sentra with 400 miles, a Toyota RAV4 with 500 miles, a Chevy Malibu, an 18 Malibu with 1,000 miles on it, a Hyundai Santa Fe with 1,000 miles on it, a Nissan Versa with 1,000 miles, a Chevy Equinox with 1,000 miles, a Mazda Miata with 1,000 miles, an Infiniti QX50 Sport Utility with 2,000 miles. The list goes on and on and on. Now, we keep over 100 to 150 cars like this on our lot. And because we have so many new cars, the rest of the cars are less expensive trade-ins. We try to keep between 40 and 50 cars on the lot at all times that we can sell under $10,000. So even though we specialize in the alternative to new, we also have a lot of cars that have a lot of life left in them. And according to Consumers Reports, you could buy a car with 100,000 miles on it and still have a whole laundry list of cars that last over 200,000 miles without putting any major repairs in those cars. I think that's pretty darn cool. Matter of fact, one of my buddies, Dave Ramsey, says it best. I talk about what Frontier Motors does. It takes me about half an hour to tell you all about it. Dave does it really good in 1 minute. Let me let you know what I'm talking about.
Hey, Dave Ramsey here. For almost a decade, I've been telling you about my friends at Frontier Motors in Pensacola. The biggest reason is they help my listeners save thousands of dollars when purchasing a slightly used car over a brand new one. Consumer Reports says the average new car depreciates a whopping $9,200 in the first year alone. That's crazy. So if you're thinking new, don't. Go see Frontier Motors and see how much they can save you on a current year car with very low miles. And if your goal is to get out of debt, bring Frontier Motors your car and they can write you a check on the spot. Frontier Motors can also do consignments and they don't charge a fee or a commission. Frontier Motors have been helping the people in the Pensacola area for 21 years. They are the go-to dealer for free advice when it comes to buying or selling a car. Please go see my friends at Frontier Motors. And don't forget to tell them Dave Ramsey sent you.
Well, he just about said it all. I don't even need to do anything else, Don. I could probably go home right now because I try to put all that what he says in half a minute into a half hour show. Now we do cover some other things when we do the Frontier Motor Show here. I want to toot Frontier Motors hat for 30 minutes, even though that's my whole goal. Claim to fame is how we do things different in the used car industry versus the other 100 and some dealers in Pensacola. And of course, you're not going to know that unless you stop at the dealership. All dealers, when they do their advertising, say they give you service, they give you a good deal, they have the best discounts, the best trade-in values, they'll buy your car, whether you buy. They all advertise the same thing. But when you get there, you're going to find out that's not like that. And that's why one of the reasons the car business has such a bad reputation, because they advertise like they're these excellent business people, and you get there and you still get treated like an idiot when they ask you stupid things like, "Well, what do you want for your car?" Or what will it take you to get for me to get you in this car today? What if I do this? Will you buy today? What if I do this? Well, at Frontier Motors, what we do different is we give you an out-the-door price without you having to ask for it. So if you find a car that you like, the next question, of course, is how much is it? Well, Mr. Customer, we're asking $28,900 for the vehicle. We've got it on the internet for $27,900. Let me find out from my manager if I can do any better. So they go to the manager. The manager looks at what they have invested in the car, looks at what the current market is on that car, and they will give you an out-the-door price in writing. Now that, if you've got a trade-in, we'll look at your trade-in, include that. If you have a payoff, we'll include that. We're going to include the dock fee, the taxes, everything there is, the license plate fee, the new title fee. All those things are little things that add up. So what we do at Frontier Motors, we make it very easy for you by giving you one price, and we circle it, and we say, here, shop apples to apples. Go to the new car dealership, and let's see how close they can get to our price. Let's just say the car is 1 year old with 10,000 miles on it. Well, if our price is $5,000 less out the door than theirs, you might end up buying ours. If it's only $1,000 less, you might end up buying theirs. I do a lot of research when I buy these cars with low miles to make sure I can be significantly lower than the new car dealer, especially when it comes to an out-the-door price, because a lot of dealers charge obnoxious fees that we don't. A lot of dealers try to steal your car, your trade-in, which we don't. That all equates to one price. Don't let them bamboozle you by giving you these huge discounts and rebates and all this other stuff that you get, but yet your outdoor price is higher than ours. That's all you need to know, that the discount's not important, the trade-in value is not important, the list price is not important, the rebates aren't important. The important thing is, what do you got to write the check for? Or if you're going to finance, what's the dollar amount you got to finance? And whether you write a check or finance it, there's no difference in the pricing of the vehicle. It's actually illegal to charge more for finance versus cash in the state of Florida. It has to be the same price. So we give you the out-the-door figure. So let's talk about the car business. We talked about before when I first started the show that last year they had a really good year. They sold 17.2 million brand new cars. The number one selling car in the nation, again, I think since for 21 years, Don, we've been talking for 21 years. The number one selling vehicle for the last 21 years since I've been doing this show is the F-150. I don't say car, I say vehicle, because they had the top 10 all the time. And they sold almost 900,000, 896,000 F-model trucks last year. Chevy was number two. And guess what Chevy it was? The Chevy Silverado. Almost 600,000, 585,000. So Ford beat them by 300, almost 300,000 vehicles. The number three selling vehicle in the nation, you'll never guess, was a Ram pickup truck. Don, I knew you knew this.
Yeah, from doing the show with you for 21 years.
Yeah. Well, now the Ram is new though. The Ram has been in the top for about a year and a half now. The Ram was never like this.
I still would have guessed a pickup.
Last year, Don, the Ram sold 500,723 trucks. First time ever they cracked the 500,000 They used to be in the 300,000 range. So they've done a really good job, and they've taken a little bit away from the Chevy and the GMC and the Nissan. The Nissan Titan, I looked at Titan, they're not doing nothing with. I think they sold 43,000 Titans. Can you imagine selling 900,000 trucks in a Ford and 43,000 Nissan Titans? I can't figure it out. The number 4 selling vehicle in the nation last year was a Toyota RAV4. So for small SUVs, that was number 4. And right behind it was a sleeper. This came out of nowhere. They redesigned the Nissan Rogue last year, and it's went up like 50% in sales. And it almost beat the Toyota RAV4 for the number 1 small SUV. So folks, if you're going to look at a small SUV, look at the Toyota and look at the RAV4, because people are buying these cars like crazy. And a lot of people do a lot of research. So there's got to be a reason that they're selling so good. And the number 1 selling car in the nation, which was actually number 6, but the number 1 selling car is a Toyota Camry with 387. Then the Honda CR-V, then the Civic, the Corolla, and the Accord. So the top spots were all imports other than the pickup truck. So very interesting that the American public is still in love with their pickup trucks. And folks, next year, they're going to go crazy with pickup trucks. They're coming out with pickup trucks that are going to be $60,000 and $70,000 for a 150. They're coming out with diesel trucks in 150s. Dodge has had them for a couple of years, but Ford and Chevy's coming out with a diesel in their 150 trucks. That's going to get almost 30 miles a gallon. That's going to be great. That's going to propel sales even more, because a lot of people don't buy pickup trucks because they have bad gas miles. Anyways, they're telling me I only got about 2 to 3 minutes left. So, folks, we want to remind you what you're looking and watching. Listening to. This is the Frontier Motor Show. Frontier Motors is on Beverly Park. We've been there going on 21 years. We are the number 1 independent dealer in the South. We have 400 vehicles in inventory. We sell about 200 to 250 every month, which means that I've got to buy 60 to 70 cars every single week. I would love to buy your car. If you've got a car and you want to do the Dave Ramsey thing, go from a 2-car family down to a 1-car family, bring me that car. Don't get scammed on Craigslist. Just bring me the car. I'll write you a check and you'll be done with it. We also have a great website. All of our vehicles are on the website with prices. So just Google Frontier Motors. We also have a Facebook page, so go to Facebook and like us on Facebook. And you can also watch this goofy TV show if you want on YouTube. So if you go to YouTube, type in Frontier Motors, you're going to see our last 4 or 5 shows pop up, and you can actually watch this. If you have a friend that's in the car market, you might want to have them watch this show for half an hour to get a little bit of background on what we do differently over the other 100 and some car dealerships in the Pensacola area. We are the people that give you free advice. Also, by the way, if you get into an accident, before you settle, stop at a Frontier Motors and get an official appraisal signed by an appraiser at no charge. If you need diminished value, if your car has been hit by somebody else and it's not worth as much now as it was before the accident, we will give you a letter of diminished value to get some extra money from the insurance company. These are all the services that we offer for free at Frontier Motors, including, by the way, free Carfax reports. Thanks for listening, and thanks for watching. Have a great day. Auf Wiedersehen.
SUV or truck, guess what? You're in luck. Frontier Motors is down the street. Got the best deals that can't be beat. Don't overpay. Come in today. Doing business the old-fashioned way. Frontier, we got the right price. Frontier, we'll treat you mighty nice. Frontier Motors, low overhead country.